In the late 1980s, Poland was under a communist government, widely unpopular in Poland, and for 2 years in that time I was British ambassador to Poland. One of the few institutions that enabled ordinary Poles not connected with the government to keep in touch with people in Britain who were also interested in Poland but were not connected with government was the Anglo-Polish Round Table, which met every 2 years, alternately in London and Warsaw. The teams who took part in the Round Table were all unofficial in the sense that they were not government ministers and they were not answerable to their governments. They were purely private, and they included politicians, businessmen, journalists, artists, performers, and people in public life of various kinds who had an interest in the other country. In I suppose 1987 or 1988, a meeting of the Round Table was due to take place in a country house just outside Warsaw, and I attended as British ambassador purely as an observer, not as a participant in the discussions, because governments were not formally involved in Round Table meetings. On this particular occasion, the first session of the Round Table on the first day was just beginning when one of the British participants, a very distinguished journalist and writer called Neil Asherson, arrived rather late and a bit out of breath, and asked to take the floor, and he announced that he had just come from a courtroom in Warsaw where a prominent member of Solidarity, the Polish dissident trade union and effectively a dissident political party which was illegal, had just been sentenced to several months' imprisonment on bogus charges. It was a put-up job. It was a kangaroo court. The Solidarity leader concerned, Janusz Onyszkiewicz, had clearly committed no serious crime, or indeed no crime at all, and the whole thing was part of the communist government's campaign of harassment of Solidarity. The Solidarity leader concerned, Janusz, had been a member of the Polish team at the Round Table meeting 2 years earlier, and was well known to many members of the British team assembled for the current Round Table meeting. The British team were in two minds about what to do about this news. Roughly half of them thought that they should simply deliver a protest and carry on with the meeting. The other half thought that it was intolerable to carry on as if nothing had happened when one of their former Round Table colleagues and a prominent patriotic Pole had been treated in this clearly unjust fashion, and they were in favour of packing it in and going home without any further sessions of the Round Table. So the British team asked for an adjournment and went into private session to decide what to do. I, of course, did not go into this private meeting with them because I was not a member of their team, and as an observer and a representative of the British government, it was really not my decision. Nevertheless, after a short time, one of the British team came out and asked me to join them as a non-voting member to give them my advice on what they should do, because they were quite deeply divided. So I went in and said to them that, of course, it was their decision. It was not for me to tell them what to do, nor was it the decision of the British government that I represented. Nevertheless, I thought there were things they should take into account. One was that to terminate the meeting and go home would, of course, be a great disappointment to the Polish members of the Round Table, who've greatly valued their links with the West, represented by the Round Table, when such links were precious and pretty rare. On the other hand, for them to act as if nothing had happened when one of their own former colleagues in the Round Table who had been treated in this way would be regarded by the Polish authorities as more or less conniving at what they'd done, and they would be quite pleased that nothing substantial was done by way of a protest. And I said that if they merely made a verbal protest and then carried on with the meeting, it really would make no impression. If they wanted to make an impression, then clearly they would have to say that they couldn't take any further part in the meeting, and they would then go home. So I gave them a bit of a steer in the direction of ending the meeting and going home, although I pointed out to them some of the practical difficulties that would involve. They wouldn't all be able to get on a plane back to London that day, or even perhaps for the next 2 or 3 days. And at that point I left the meeting, and they decided, after further discussion, to end the meeting and go home, and that's what they did. I was subsequently accused by the Polish government of masterminding the whole thing and doing it at the beck and call of the British government, which was completely untrue. I had no means of consulting ministers in Britain in the short time available. But it was a genuine dilemma, and it was decided, I think, on ethical grounds, although I think I gave them a pretty clear steer in the direction of ending the meeting and going home.